I'm Vanessa Goodwin of Key Performance Ideas, and I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, How to Leverage Account Reconciliation Manager, also known as ARM, to reduce risk, ensure accuracy, and monitor metrics. Our webinar will be presented today by Cullen Caballero. Cullen is an Oracle Hyperion certified consultant with extensive experience implementing the full life cycle of EPM solutions, from design, project management, implementation, administration, analysis, and reporting development. His experience also spans across several industries with companies of all sizes. Recognized for his analytic skills, he delivers complex solutions to clients in support of their strategic goals. Thank you, Cullen, for joining us today.
Sure thing, Vanessa. Hey, thanks, everyone. My name is Cullen Caballero, and I'll be guiding us today. Really, the goal is to educate and socialize and really provide a small glimpse into a tool that provides important components, insights into the monthly account reconciliation process. So about 4 years ago, Oracle released a module named Account Reconciliation Manager, and we call that product ARM. And it was created to really think about how we look at account recs. And it really helps companies at the simplest form to better prepare for audits. It gains real-time visibility, allows us to look at accuracy and absolutely at the advanced account rec level and the most basic. So this product really fits nicely in the overall financial close process. As many of you probably already know in this call, based on your experience, the close process really, it's not the same as the days when we had our first account rec or our first bank rec or pick up a bank statement and close out a cash account. So I want to walk you through a little bit of how that process has changed as regards to today. And so if you follow along here in this chart, we've got a subledger close that starts here on the operational side. And during that financial subledger close, we may close AR, we close AP, we close the fixed assets, and all that rolls directly right into the general ledger. Once we close out the DL, it moves on to account recs. So account recs have its own little space here, and this is the gap that we're going to be talking about today. If you haven't looked at your account reconciliation approach or posture toward it, it fits right nicely into the overall process. So as we make our way through the data assurance side, this is our mappings, our validations. Oracle has a great product called FDM-EE, which Account Recs actually uses. ARM uses it very well. It stabilizes all of your mapping, stabilizes all of your data assurance, comes from that. So once that's all settled in, it takes care of your consolidations. We move to consolidations, and consolidations really refers to automating the consolidated financial reporting. We want to leverage our multiple hierarchies and calculations as part of this. You're probably familiar with a product called HFM, Hyperion Financial Management, that takes care of this. Once we have there, we really move into our internal reporting. So internal reporting here goes then into external reporting and finally into filing. So we really have a nice little look of what a world-class financial close process looks like. So this is the fun part. This is probably what we experience today without ARM. So accounting teams really are not what they used to be. So now they need to run lean. They are highly automated. They need to be scalable and reliable, tool-driven. We may experience hundreds and maybe even thousands of monthly reconciliations are performed each and every month. That brings a lot of pain points. Some of those pain points are tool-related. Excel, Access, and we have homegrown models. There's levels of risk in all sorts of accounts. We have one single person that may be in charge of all the account reconciliations. That leads to a little bit of risk in the compartment of, maybe we have invalid recs that we not have a lot of confidence in, and there could be misreconciliations as part of that leaning on one person. So it really presents us with some really low integrity, not only on security because you're passing around Excel passwords or templates in your local systems, but also really low or impossible traceability. So at any given point, we don't know where we are in an account reconciliation item. And all of this costs money. It costs money to train. It costs money to administer. So let's walk through this a little bit. So what you see here is we have a single account reconciliation manager. They identify and gather all the data at the beginning of their process. So once this person is in place and the close is started, they have identified all the account recs that need to happen, they then start forming their team. So that team consists of preparers and reviewers. So there's a lot of communication that needs to happen between this team. It's kind of like their SWAT team. So the rec manager has all of their lists. So, visualize your Excel spreadsheets, and we're going back and forth with communication between this manager to the preparer. The preparer is normally an entry-level position, so there's a lot of training, a lot of oversight that needs to happen, which is why the critical nature of this relationship between the reviewer and the account reconciliation manager is paramount. So we have all this back and forth through email, through who's late, how do I know who's late? I have to track and tick and tie every single little line. Think about that going through hundreds and hundreds of lines. I've got team coordination, some bit of a confusion, and meanwhile, lingering the whole time, we know that it's possible that audit can roll right in and they ask the simple question, well, where is this item? Do you have confidence in this item? I need some more details. So today, without ARM, you're unable to really sift through emails or go back into your storage capability of whatever that may look like, and we'll get to that. But essentially, the critical item here is traceability, having a single place to store everything, and really communication between all of these folks. So there's a heavy, heavy burden on this seat right here, which a lot of you may know. So once we move past this, and our preparers have gotten everything that we need from the reviewers, we have a good tie out here, we're as confident as we can be between the rec manager and the reviewers, oversight's done. Finally, we throw it all into storage somewhere. So back in the day, it used to be printing out all of your sheets and put them in a file cabinet, or even today, a little bit more modern would be have it into a SharePoint site or some kind of shared space. And all the while, that this needs to be accessed very easily by audit. So this presents quite a bit of challenges of what can happen, not just in communication, but also around how complete we are. So what ARM presents really is allowing us to take all of those separate means of communication, all the separate means of storage, and also of our capability to look at the world a little differently. So on storage, everything in ARM is online. It's an online tool. It's an application-based tool that sits in the current structure of your EPM system today, if you have it. It also takes care of all of your multi-currencies around the world, whatever it may be. You can do analysis and comparison within the system itself, and it gives you an overall view. So it gives you access to even the smallest of items. You can look at a dashboard and you can see exactly where you are in the process. There's automation of emails in here, and we'll get into all of these specifics. But the big three here is that it combines a central storage, it is global friendly, multi-currency integrations, and it's web-based, so it gives you an executive view or even an eagle eye view into dashboarding. So that changes the entire dynamic of how you are using your tools around reconciliation, the cycle. This whole team changes this dynamic. Your administrator becomes single-threaded, and you allow your auditors single access into this tool. Your administrators know how to move this, and your executives have high confidence because you can actually give them reports and dashboards all over the place to allow them to have good confidence in what they see. Now, the preparers and reviewers, these guys don't go away. These guys are only enhanced. They're only enabled to do a little bit more and a better job of what they're doing, all the while having good oversight by this set of administrators here. So these guys have connection in the system. These guys have connection in the system. This person is really settled in a little bit, and auditors just have full visibility into the whole process. So it's really good. So the reason why Oracle needed this product is because people are really advanced in looking at their overall process as regards to their attitude toward account reconciliation. And they found, it's really, really simple things that they asked a question about. The people who are very far down the road and advanced in this process were saying, my system has to be complete. It is non-negotiable. It has to be accurate. It has to be fast. It has to be consistent. It has to be evaluated, and it has to be improved. So all these things go around integration and visibility, range and depth of confidence, making sure things are properly mapped. We want to make sure that we have good automation capabilities that's pushing the envelope as far as possible as we can get information. So the quicker the process, the less we have to touch things, less high touch. So in the consistency, we want this thing to be repeatable, period by period. So it lowers the cost of administration, and we'll get into that a little bit as well. And process improvement. So on the evaluation side, it's important to know where you stand at any given point and always push to make more and more efficient processes, to make everyone a happier environment and a more efficient environment to present that value of that seat. And we constantly need to evaluate new tools. So here's another example where we can adopt new training. We have a more confident user base, and adoption is really part of how that tool drives the process. So let's dive into these principles or guidelines a little bit. So when we talk about your process being complete, we want to make sure that all appropriate accounts are being reconciled, including new accounts. We want to ensure that there is an overall reconciliation policy that's in place, and that not only is in place, but we know we have to adhere to it, and that's company-wide, worldwide, across all segments. We want to ensure that each reconciliation includes a title, a description of the account, and procedures or instructions of how complete the reconciliation can be. So if you have any applicable contracts or reports that you need to run or obtain, or any kind of other supporting detail, you want to make sure that documentation is available to your administrator or to your executives at any point in this process. You want to make sure that the integration must be clean. It has to be clear, and it has to be scalable. So a complete process, what does that look like with ARM? So here's a bit of architecture. So we're following the principle of being complete. Early on, I talked about how the subledger close feeds into the GL close, and the GL close moves into the data reconciliation process, into data assurance, which goes into this section here, and then the consolidation, and then internal, external reporting, and finally, you know that ARM is part of the close management as part of the process that goes. So this is typically how it happens during the account reconciliation process. All of these disparate systems or source data goes directly into FDM-EE. All the capability of FDM-EE is leveraged. So we're talking about auditability, we're talking about mappings, we're talking about validation logic, all of those system abilities and capabilities within FDM-EE, and there's a backend product called ODI, which is a really fast integrator back into these source systems. They leverage all of the benefits of FDM-EE, so you get that inside of ARM as well. Then the data is processed, it's moved into ARM for reconciliations. You can add adjustments here. And the same tone, it goes into your consolidation application. So here's where your eliminations happen, your intercompany activity gets brought in, your top sides, you have visibility with an HFM process management to make sure that all of our users are on the same page on the consolidation level. All the meanwhile, remember that you're on the same Oracle platform this whole time. Then the data goes into report mode. So your data is clean, you have your account recs all situated, everything together, and now we have, of course, our ad hoc tool, SmartView, and then finally our financial reporting tool, which allows us to picture perfect 10K, 10Q reports there. So that's just a little bit of a glimpse there. There's a little bit of magic in here that allows for really some good visibility into the lowest transaction detail of what it is, and that's called drill through. So ARM leverages that technology as well. So I'll walk you through that a little bit. Just picture this, you're in a financial report and you have a high level account that you have summarized as part of your process, and now we need to look back a little bit. So what we can do in that kind of look back scenario, we can be in a report and we can say, well, a data value has been loaded to say my cash account, and now I want to look at transactional level of that cash account. Well, you have multiple ways of looking at that. One from FR, and you can drill all the way back into FDM-EE. And remember, you have all your mappings here. It's unwound. The logic is unwound down to the debit and credit. And that exact same capability, which you may be familiar with from this way, all the same things happen from ARM. So you can go back into your subledger detail, you can go back into your GL detail, your GL summary, back into the level or the chart field level, whatever it may be. All this capability comes back from a single transaction back into your sources. So if you need to put your finger on one item with confidence, putting ARM in place here, along with the other set of tools that you may have in place for an EPM, can really be of a huge, huge benefit. So you got to remember, this tool is 100% dedicated and designed to manage the various reconciliation processes. So we're talking bank balance sheet reconciliations, bank statement recs, GL to financial consolidation system recs, subledger to GL recs, and also we have capability in there for a little bit of a variance analysis, if you will, but a budget to actual reconciliations as well. So you can pull all of those by two different types, an account analysis type and a balance comparison type. So again, it fills all these gaps of what, is my system complete? When we think about that, what are people asking? Well, we want our audit reconciliations to be able to be tracked. We want to put some logic around those. I need some pre-built dashboards to be able to look at the monitoring status. How old is a transaction? How old is a reconciliation item, and who's responsible for it? This product is also designed to manage various different types. It includes support to track and verify reconciliation completeness at the reconciliation item level and also a summarized level. And finally, one thing that's really helps us be here is security. So you can track the same security from the module down into ARM. So let's talk a little bit about accuracy. What do we mean about being accurate? So the individual preparing and reviewing the account, we want to make sure that this person, I guess when we're thinking about this from a team perspective, we want to have a basic understanding of what the account is used for, what should it be used for to support that balance. And just think about this, the cash accounts will need, I guess, the GL and a bank statement in order to perform that reconciliation. We always need to have visibility to that. Even this is outside of a tool perspective, we need these things. So we need to ensure that they are correct and most updated balances are being reconciled. Next, we need to ensure that the reconciliation actually supports the balance and is not just a repeat of the GL or roll forward of the balance. So any repeats, we need those to get filtered out pretty quickly. We want to have the capability of watching for accounts to have unusual balances. So maybe an accrual with a debit balance or a receivable account with a credit balance. That's something that we need to be able to think about and be watchful of. So here we introduced a little bit of a pinpoint capability of ARM. What does it bring? So it allows us to group accounts up to a summary level. So maybe you have a group of very low risk accounts that you want to track by person. You can assign a team in one of your divisions to this account grouping. You can take that team and you can track that team, and you can apply a task to that team. You can do that. So that's at a very bit of a summarized level for an account type that's low risk that you can just kind of throw in and not touch really too much. Or you can go all the way down to the bottom level and pinpoint a specific account. The ledger segments defined in this solution start from the very beginning. So all your source systems, they have these different components in the account string. And what ARM allows you to do is to keep the same language and the same descriptions of those all the way through to the end. And of course, we can drill back through them. It maintains continuity throughout the solution. Multiple currencies. So maybe your transactional and your functional currency are two separate. You may have two separate feeds. With direct integration back into your sources, this is no longer a problem. You don't have multiple spreadsheets. You don't have calculations to track. You don't have to worry about keeping up with all this logic. So imports a little bit is big. So supporting detail, we talked about that a little bit earlier. So we do have the capability of not only proving out what has been done or signed off, but we need that supporting detail to be available. So that's where that central storage comes in. So if you can visualize a little bit of an account item that has multiple documents attached to it, giving it supporting detail before audit comes in and asks for it. You have flexible formats to adapt to each account type, and it also, this is really good here, the clarity of what options are available to you. So now you do have a place to put descriptions and carry that over month to month. You do have a place for instructions for your team or your teammate or a person that is assigned to that account work. You have confirmation questions, so we can ask them post and pre-reconcilable close. And you also have options to enter or store adjustments directly in the ARM, or we give instructions back to store those adjustments back in the GL or subledger. And of course, you can have your zero balance requirements for closure. So the big one here is for us to be accurate. So HOPE is really no longer part of that process for us. Something else, really advanced companies who've taken a serious look at their account reconciliation process, they need it to be fast. So your manager is continually pushing needs for due dates for each reconciliation, a name associated with it. They really needed a mechanism to track the status. The system must take a high-risk account due early. So in this case, you may have a high-risk account that needs to be pushed ahead of the list, bring it up early so we can close it quicker, because we need to identify any potential problems that could come with that account. So it's a close view. We need to be able to review unidentified differences and also post the necessary adjustments while the counter period is still open. So this allows us really our ability to continue to learn from ourselves and to be quick about it. So the solution needs to be easy to deploy, configure, and administer. ARM presents this as a solution. So it gives you the ability to track all the assignments at the account or account group. It allows you to track all assignments by the responsible user or user group, allow for full tracking from our dashboards, and auto reconciliations are executed after each data load or even on demand. So there's a capability inside of ARM to automatically close reconciliation items, make sure that those are met, so you can actually apply logic to what qualifies an item to be closed. And finally, email notifications back and forth. So if you think back to the process as we know it today, I put a slide in there, they had a lot of exchanges over email. Well, there's a capability inside of this tool that allows for late notices to be sent out whenever you have a threshold. You have the status changes to the administrators, and the whole team can see that based on security. And finally, you're prompted for due dates. All of this out of a central system. So consistency. When we talk about consistency, we really want to talk about something that allows for measurement. We want consistency. We know that it always creates accountability, and consistency establishes your reputation as part of your team. And one of the most important things, it actually makes you relevant within your team. So consistency is absolutely paramount here. When we talk about consistency, we're talking about a repeatable process, period by period, easy to administer. We want a central repository for various types of reconciliations. We need easy to use features, maintaining reconciliation assignments. So this is mass updates, configurable frequencies, and capabilities to import large amounts of data. And then, of course, we need something that task management is no longer fragmented or offline. One thing I want to point out here is around consistency. So whenever we improve on our system on a monthly basis, and maybe we have that hundreds or thousands of reconciliation items, hitting the reset button, right in the middle of the process is really tough to do if you don't have something that can be copied from one period to the next. So the second bullet here, copy period to period reconciliation list, this is not just the reconciliation list by itself, but this is add-ons for new ones that were created, new groupings, new team groupings, all of that can be copied over. So all the knowledge that you gain in 1 month, you're not hitting the reset button starting from scratch. You're actually compounding over time the improvements that you made to your process. This tool gives that to you, which lowers cost, absolutely lowers cost in the end. They want their system to be evaluated. So do I have the capability of looking at things from a global view? So this is really around process improvement, monitoring, looking at status reports, and actually overall improvements to the systems. They also wanted to be able to review the account reconciliation policies to ensure it's accurate and reflects the company's real position on things. And we really need to ask some questions or put something in place where we can put instructions to answer the questions, the what's, the whens, who, why, and how much. So in the evaluation process, to do this, we need to provide a solution for the lack of visibility. So if our department or regions or users, we need to know and answer a question for audit, where are we? We need a solution to do that, and that's what ARM does. It has built-in dashboards to help out optimize and adjust before the next close. So before those books close, we can actually adjust on the fly. That being capable within ARM in a web-based tool. We have out-of-the-box reports to identify risk. So visualize an alert coming up. I run my dashboard. I see my risks. I see my things exactly what it needs to be. An out-of-the-box executive view of all tasking processes also becomes available and solves that question. And this is a really good one too, a overall full view of start dates, end dates, who the task was run by, and of course, status aging here. So improvement. My system must be improved, an executive asks and says, I need to know that I'm pushing the envelope forward. So this is a little bit beyond process improvement, but this is really to easily execute a change. So advanced companies really look at the overall process routinely to identify improvements that can drive high quality and timeliness, and then do something about your findings for a more efficient process going forward. So here's a little bit of a look into ARM really at work. So this is one of the dashboards. So it's online, fully view. You get the whole look from the way Oracle views their software. So it's on a single platform, so everything looks the same. This is actually a view in the workspace. So you launch Reconciliation Manager, and this may be your view into a status chart there on the top left. You can see who's late. You can see a status of each one of these recs. You can see your warnings there within that box. You can put descriptions on these warnings. Moving over to the top right, your reconciliation list, you see the names of the different accounts. Now this could be one account ID, or this can be a group of accounts that actually happen. You see your risk ratings there on the right there. If we move to the bottom left, you have a global view of your aging analysis. So how long has this either been open, or what's the actual age of this transaction, complete with warnings. And then on the bottom right, you have your transaction list. So all the way down, you see the transaction code there to the invoice level. This all will be available to you upon clicking right into the process. So all of this reduces, all of this ensures accuracy, and these are the metrics that allow you to do this, to see where we are in the overall process. So keys to success, we'll go through them again. You know, if your current account reconciliation solution, if it presents barriers to being able to pinpoint where we are, visibility in your process, if you find your process very time consuming, and really for your team, it's just draining. It's draining. It takes a lot of time taken away from the real work that they want to do on the analysis side. It requires a lot of rework on data changes. If you just find these things to not be very transparent to users, that can then breed a lack of confidence in your overall process. And then you might find yourself needing to answer the question, you know, is my data right? Is it in sync? How do I know? And if you can't put your finger on it, maybe, you know, you need to ask, how did that approval happen? What's the logic behind it? The supporting detail behind that closure, or even documentation around your adjustment. Audit's going to look for these out front. So what ARM allows us to have is a fully integrated web-based process that eliminates all of our spreadsheets, our manual processes. It's a central storage and documentation solution to support those details to better your case of why and what we did there, both internally and externally. It allows you to have status to be reviewed on a timeline via the online dashboards, and it's built on FDM-EE with the powerful mapping engine that it is, and it's the full framework. So really, at the end of the day, ARM can answer difficult questions in just a few seconds. So thanks for joining today. I hope this information was beneficial, and certainly it was a pleasure for me to share it with you. Back to you, Anissa, and thank you so much for having me here today to talk about ARM.
Thank you, Cullen. And thank you all for joining us today for the webinar, How to Leverage Account Reconciliation Manager to Reduce Risk, Ensure Accuracy, and Monitor Metrics. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Cullen and Greg's contact information is displayed on your screen. And thank you all for joining us, and have a great day.